Hello everybody. Let's say you're doing a headshot of someone or even yourself, you're doing a selfie and you're shooting in the portrait mode. Well, today I'm going to show you how by applying 4 different effects, it's going to make a huge difference in your image quality of your final image. So I'm going to walk around, I'm going to find a decent lighting area. We're going to be using all natural light for this particular one because that's the beauty of using your iPhone. You can just walk around easily. You're not bogged down with all kinds of equipment, and then you can just fine tune it, find a nice area. We're going to be using window light here, all natural light. And then we're going to see how by applying these effects, it's going to make a big difference in your final image. So let's go take a look. So let's look at one of the images that were taken, and we're going to use this one here. Even though I cut the top of my hair off just a little bit, I wanted to show a little bit of clutter in the background because portrait mode has a really neat adjustment that I use quite a bit. It's called depth control, where you could change the look of your background. You can make it look as though it was taken with a fast lens wide open. So it's going to give you the look of having a lot of background blur, which is going to take away some of the distraction in the background. The first thing I'm going to do is save this image just as it was taken. So let's go ahead and do that. You can see there's a setting here, duplicate, so we're going to duplicate it, and now we have it. Okay, so let's start with this image here, and we're going to go into Edit. If we click on the second icon here, we have our normal controls where we can adjust our exposure, saturation, contrast, and so on. And this is also available when you're shooting in the photo mode. But besides these controls, let's look at some of the 4 that I use quite a bit. So let's take it back to the slider. So as you can see here, this slider, it's like a wheel. This is the way that it was taken in natural light. Now, many times I'll use the studio light setting and the contour light setting. But in this particular case, I'm going to go back and leave it at the natural light setting. Now, the neat thing about using the slider is many times I'll also like to save it with a black background. As you can see here, it just takes the background all the way out, changes it to black. And then the next one will change the image to black and white with a black background. And you go one more step and we have a white background. So to me, this is really amazing. So normally I would adjust the slider, but in this case, we're going to keep it as it was taken. Next thing we're going to do is, if you look on top, it says f4.5. That's our depth control. And we're going to click on that, and that brings up a slider. And if we slide that all the way to the right, watch what happens to the background. And notice that it'll say F16. That's going to give us a lot of depth of field. This is the way that it was taken, where it says F4.5. If we slide it all the way to the left, look where it says F1.4. It's going to give the appearance as though it was taken at F1.4 with a fast lens, knocking the background out of focus. So what this does is takes away a lot of your background distraction. So I'm going to keep it at f1.4. Next thing we're going to do is crop it. And you can see we have a little cropping tool here. And we're going to go ahead and crop it a little bit closer. On the left, I'm going to take out that bright spot here because that's kind of distracting. Okay, right about there is good. Now we have it cropped. Now let's add one final adjustment to it. And we'll go back to clicking on the second icon here. And for this one, we're going to use the adjustments here, but we're going to go all the way to the end where it says vignette. And I'm going to click on that. And it's going to bring up our slider here. And this is where we start. And if we take the vignette all the way to the left, look what happens to the corners. It brightens up the corners slightly. Watch what happens as we slide it to the right. It darkens the corners. It vignettes it. Now the image that we worked on was taken using the selfie mode. so I didn't quite have the telephoto lens that I normally like to use for portraits. So this is the image that we ended up with by using the 4 controls. Even though I didn't use a slider, I normally do, but when shooting in the portrait mode, I think that these are some really, really beautiful effects that can help turn your image into more of a professional quality image. So let's go ahead and we'll save that. So we went from this to this, using the portrait mode in the iPhone.